What do we Namibians remember about Casinga Day?
Casinga Day is actually the day where Namibian sons and daughters were cold-bloodedly killed by South African soldiers for apartheid regime. That was in Angola.
Well, Namibians remember that day in particular for people, Namibians being killed by oppressors of that time.
Hello viewers, this is Meni Tembu. She survived the Casinga Day massacre in 1978. Ms. Nitembu, you are a survivor of the Casinga Day attack. What do you remember about that day?
I remember that day, 1978, the 4th of May. It was early in the morning. I don't know, but I still remember what happened. It was around 8 o'clock in the morning when he was ready to go to the parade. I was a nurse. I came from the hospital. When I turned my head, I saw 4 airline dark black coming through us. Then I didn't say anything. I just say, oh, we are going to die today. It's only the word I use it. Then I didn't see anything from that time.
As humans, we always wonder why tragedy occurs. Why do you think you survived that day?
My dear, what I think only God is love, who was protecting me in that way, because there was no way to hide. There was no way to go. Only God who was with me. I just say thanks to Lord. It's all what I want to say.
Did you anticipate the attack? Were you caught off guard?
Yes. The time I was in fire, the fire was very heavy. I met my friend Elizabeth Namolo with 2 kids and mine 2 also boys and boys. Meme called me, say, let we play. Then we call God, eat out to Kwafe, come and help us today. And I'm lucky the girl together here, we was together. I met her when she got injured on the hand. I talked to her, don't cry, my child, let we go ahead. She's still here, she's here. Oh, really? It's my child.
Me Nitembu, how do you feel about the way we commemorate the Casinga Memorial Day?
I just want, especially young people, let them remember this day was not a joke. And it was not the day to celebrate, it's the day for crying and remember our heroes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nitembu, for this emotional experience you've shared with us.
I say thanks to Lord also, who loved me until now.
Yes. And now we have Mena Munjebo, who also survived the Casinga Day attack in 1978. Mena Munjebo, you are a Casinga Day survivor. What do you remember about that day?
I remember a lot of things, because I remember it's where I lost my hand, and that day is a big day to me. We were a group from school, different school from Namibia. We were from Odibo, and the others from different school in the country. So we joined together, we went, we were so happy that some of us, we are going to be trained to go to school, some will become a soldier, but our dream never come a truth, because on the 4th of May, the South African troop come in the morning, we just see the sky, lot of plane, we don't know what's going on. And bombing, we don't know what is going on, where we run. Early in the morning when it comes, it just hit the tree and cut my hand while I'm running to go and survive in the trench. Then while I'm going on trench, straight to the trench for me to survive, because they came, they dropped the soldier with my gun and the bayonet they have. Now when I reached in the trench, I saw the soldier coming. Then in my mind I said, my goodness, what is going on now? Then I just heard they saying, Fangon Levendach. You know, we were from home, we know what is Fangon Levendach. So now I know this one is end of my life. Now I think, then I said, let me, while I'm already injured, I took my hand and they put all the blood in my face and all over. Then I do like that. They are just coming and bayoneted people with that knife in the gun, bayoneted people like that. Otherwise, a lot of people could survive. We crossed the river, they just put me on a catri small like this. It's where they hide me on the 4th until Monday. It was Thursday until Monday when the comrades, Cuban, they come. When I just heard, compañero, because the Cuba, they used to pass to our camp, to some tete. Now I say, here. Because whenever people are talking, I'm just there sleeping. I can't even do up my eyes like this. So I say, my goodness, this is Cuban. They are coming to assist. This is our comrade. Now our comrades also, our nurses and the Memelanda Nitembo and others, there were many our nurses. They come and pick up the body and those who are injured. So now they remember me. Tina. Then I said, yeah, she's arrived. Now when they took me to the car to go to Samtete for hospital, landmine. Independence is not coming like a plate. So that's I'm just saying, let us we work together as a Namibian, as one nation, one Namibia. We must, no matter which color are you, no matter which political are you or church you are, we must be one Namibia, one nation.
We would like to thank you both, Ms. Namjebo and Ms. Nitembu, for sharing your emotional experiences.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. And you viewers are with NAMCOL, your #1 learning program. This is lesson 1 in our history series today as we reflect on the Casinga Day massacre of 1978. We'll talk about the roles played by South Africa, Cuba, and SWAPO of Namibia in the Casinga Day attack. We'll also discuss the attack itself and its aftermath. And we'll discuss the political consequences of Casinga Day for South Africa and Namibia. Thanks for watching. The battle, raid, or also called Massacre of Casinga, was an airborne attack by South African forces, which was widely criticized by the world. The raid was made on a deserted mining town in the south of Angola, which served as a refugee camp and military base for people of the Southwest African People's Organization, which is better known as SWAPO. Here, unprovoked, on May 4th, 1978, South Africa conducted its first major military air assault. Considerable debate continues as to whether Casinga was a refugee camp, a military camp, or perhaps both, and consequently, if the raid was a massacre of civilians or a successful military operation. This is how the events unfolded. Starting in 1976, SWAPO People's Liberation Army of Namibia combatants regularly traveled south by road from Huambo province in Angola through Casinga. This was an abandoned mining town that was located about halfway to the battlefront at the Namibian border. The town had about 20 buildings that previously served the local iron ore mine as warehouses, offices, and accommodation. A group of planned soldiers led by D. Mohamambo occupied Casinga some weeks after they began using it as a stopover point. They codenamed the stopover place Moscow. Namibia's Charles Namolo and Mwetufa Mpopiwa accompanied Hamambo when the village was first occupied. And the first Namibian inhabitants of Casinga consisted entirely of trained, planned combatants. Not long after the establishment of the planned camp at Casinga, it began to function also as a transit camp for Namibian exiles. The Angolan government allocated the abandoned village to SWAPO in 1976 to cope with the influx of thousands of refugees from Southwest Africa. Namibians fleeing the occupied Southwest Africa numbered a total of 3,000 to 4,000 people in 1978. 2 days before the raid took place, UNICEF still reported that the camp was well run and well organized, but not well equipped to cope with the rapid refugee increase. Cuban forces that entered the Angolan Civil War in 1975 had set up a base at the nearby Tekamutete and provided logistical support to the SWAPO administration at Casinga. Medical treatment of people seriously wounded in combat, as well as the repair of equipment and the assembly of newly trained insurgents, all took place at Casinga. Casinga was no longer a quiet and deserted place by April 1978. It had become increasingly difficult for the SADF to operate in southern Angola. South Africa also feared the disruption of elections, which were planned to take place in Southwest Africa and which excluded SWAPO. The SADF realized that the small town of Casinga was the main medical center for guerrillas in the region and one of SWAPO's 2 regional headquarters, the other being further north at Lubango. Casinga was becoming too great a military threat and South Africa wanted to get rid of it. The SADF began flying over the area to do reconnaissance, and planned combatants realized that the invasion was imminent. SWAPO responded by improving its defenses and developing a second camp north of the main camp by digging more trenches and holes to protect their food. The South Africans then postponed their attack. Casinga was situated 260 kilometers into Angola from the northern border of Namibia, so it would be hard for the South Africans to fight on land. Furthermore, Casinga was located on a small hill with a river on its western side and open fields in the other direction, so attackers from any side could be easily observed. But the base was not prepared for an airborne attack, as the SADF had not previously demonstrated any such capability. The South African Air Force concluded that Casinga was the most important SWAPO base in Angola and decided to mount a large airborne assault on it with parachute troopers. The date of the attack on the 4th of May was deliberately chosen as it was after the United Nations Security Council debate on Southwest Africa had ended. The bombing was timed to coincide with SWAPO's daily roll call on the parade ground when most of the people in the camp would be standing out in the open. The first attack of the day was low-level fragmentation bombs, which surprised and created havoc among assembled guerrillas in the open. They also destroyed vehicles, fuel, soft buildings, and storage tanks. Then followed the dive bombing. Errors in the South Africans' calculations from reconnaissance photographs led to fewer casualties than they had planned. Also, the SWAPO combatants soon recovered from the shock and offered fierce resistance. Planned Commander-in-Chief was Dimo Hamambo Amambo, who became the first head of the Namibian Defense Force in 1990. He was assisted in this battle by Greenwell Matongo. As the fighting became fiercer, the South Africans also attacked the trenches west of Casinga, and almost 100 people were killed in those trenches. By afternoon, Cuban forces were deployed to help SWAPO, and the South Africans started withdrawing. However, furious fighting between these two groups ensued, and by nightfall, nearly the entire Cuban battalion had been destroyed. What was once Casinga was now a scene of total destruction. Casualties of the Casinga War were 600 civilians and combatants dead, and about 400 more people injured. It is these dead bodies that are seen in the pictures, buried in the trenches of Casinga. The South Africans declared the attack on Casinga to be a great military success, despite incurring great losses themselves that day at the hands of SWAPO. But the SADF did not kill or capture Dimo Amambo or any other senior military leaders. As soon as SWAPO had recovered militarily from the Casinga raid, it launched Operation Revenge, dropping a mortar bomb on the SADF barracks at Katima Mulilo in the Caprivi Strip. Politically, though, South Africa continued to pay for its Casinga Day spoils for decades. The apartheid regime was accused of having slaughtered 600 defenseless civilians in a refugee camp, with the 2 mass graves at Casinga being used extensively for propaganda purposes. The United Nations invited SWAPO leader Sam Nujoma to address the UN Council before issuing United Nations Security Council Resolution 428, which condemned South Africa for the armed invasion of Angola on the 4th of May 1978. The Council commended Angola for its support of the Namibian people and condemned apartheid and the continued occupation by South Africa of Southwest Africa. After independence in 1990, the new government of Namibia declared the 4th of May as Casinga Day, a public holiday to commemorate the loss of lives during the raid on that day. And so, commemorations are marked once a year by a ceremony held here at Heroes Acre outside Windhoek. These ceremonies are attended by important national political figures, including President Hifikepunye Pohamba and founding father Sam Nujoma. On Casinga Day, this area, or sometimes the UN Plaza in Katutura, fills up with up to 1,000 people dressed in the blue, red, and green colors of the SWAPO party. We mourn our loved ones and resolve to forgive but not forget the losses that war brings. And what can we learn from keeping this day?
Well, it's just to appreciate what they did for us and not to forget the sacrifices that they made for us.
It's actually very important. One is to maintain history. And in such a way, young people can also learn exactly that this is what transpired. That the independence of Namibia never came on a silver platter. It was not only negotiation in Geneva or in New York. It was through the barrel of the gun. So a lot of people were killed. Many refugees, Namibian refugees, who were residing in Casinga by then, knowingly that Casinga was a refugee camp. So it was attacked. So it's very important to learn that history on its own. It's actually very important to be preserved.
Fellow Namibians, thank you for joining us on today's program. History is often subjective in the memory. We like to forget what is painful and remember the good. But for our own closure, it is good to know the full picture so that we can have peace. Let's recap on what we have learned about Casinga Day. The Battle of Casinga was an airborne attack by South African forces on SWAPO. Casinga was a deserted mining town in South Angola, which served as a SWAPO refugee camp and military base. On the 4th of May 1978, the SADF bombed this area from military aircraft. Neither Dimo Amambo nor any other senior SWAPO military leaders were killed or captured. The United Nations condemned South Africa for the armed invasion of Angola. The United Nations praised Angola for supporting the Namibian people and condemned apartheid and the occupation by SA of Southwest Africa. After independence, Namibia declared the 4th of May as Casinga Day to commemorate the loss of lives during the raid on that day. Finally, viewers, here is our SMS competition question for today. Please SMS us at 5003 and mention the keyword for this lesson, which is of course Casinga. Then leave a space and type A, B or C for the answer you choose as correct. Each SMS costs $3 Namibian. Here is the question. Tell us which statement from these 3 options you think is correct. On Casinga Day, A, forces advanced out of Moscow, or B, South Africa bombed a deserted mining town, or perhaps C, SWAPO built 3 major trenches. Thanks for taking part. The winner will be announced within 3 days, and if it is you, We will soon contact you to come and collect your prize at a NAMCOL center near wherever you live. I hope you enjoyed watching and learning with us. See you soon. Bye-bye.